are you telling me that the British press have so dominated that the way Meghan Markle is perceived over there
No.
is as a villain?
Yeah, I have really lovely neighbours. They're slightly older. They're in their 60s. They're really nice people. We went round there for dinner the other day. They're reasonable. They're quite liberal, and we sat down for dinner. And boom, it was a 25-minute rant about the Sussexes and all of the tropes that the media have done, and the shiz controlling him and my wife essentially tensed up because she knows my feelings on this topic, and she'd give me the eyes if say, please.
Wait,
don't
your
start
wife doesn't have the same feelings?
No, my wife thinks like I do, that it's a kind of a media a narrative, but she could see me sort of sitting there and shaking, and she's like, please don't make the rest of our lives awkward with these neighbors. But the way in which it's filtered across like every level of society here, and it's a complete furor knocked up by the press. It's just absolutely incredible to see in real time. It's incredible. If you see things
sort of like how here Trump and MAGA and all, like how that has, because people get to curate. So if you only watch Fox, if you're only on Reddit, if you only got your Facebook groups, then you think that the immigrants are coming for your children. They're going to take your jobs. They're going to rape. That Black people are stealing all of the money. So this is, so it's the same in Great Britain.
No. So the difference is, there aren't specific media outlets that peddle this. They all peddle it.
All of them do. Okay.
Because it's tied up with veneration of the crown, which, like I said here, is sacred. You can't challenge it. There's very few, and even like politically, like across the political spectrum, and issues like immigration, and we've got the Conservatives, our version of the Republicans, who are odious enough. But even like you go to the left, which is the Labour Party, they're towing similar lines and talking points on immigration, and
So how do you how do you break through if your media is so dominated? I mean, the fact that you have Piers Morgan as any kind of thing.
We did send him over to you, but you sent him back.
No, we did. We sent his ass back because please take him. Yes. We kept Downtown Julie Brown and Scary Spice, and y'all can have Piers Morgan forever.
All right, fair enough. But it's he seems like he's an extreme voice, but he is a voice that commands a massive kind of consensus here. And
we're talking with David Veevers, his new book, The Great Defiance, How the World Took on the British Empire. We're having a conversation off mic, on mic, talked a little bit about Meghan and Harry. And I think what's fascinating to me is that your media it's like Fox everywhere. Like there's no escape. Like there's no MSNBC. There's no place to go there. No. So how does a book like yours penetrate the psyche when your entire nation, I mean, hell, you have a prime minister that's Indian, but he was the first boy, like he's more British than, you know what I'm saying? Like your whole folk were dominated, but you coming in toting to say, this is scary. It's a very scary thing that's happening.
It is interesting because, one of the things that they point to is that we've got, in terms of the diversity of the current government, it is impressive and it's never been that diverse before. But, a lot of, the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister, but, they are completely and utterly regurgitating these long narratives of, that reinforce the kind of, we were talking about earlier, the kind of whiteness, it makes sense when you look at the upbringing. It's all kind of, Eton and Oxford and Cambridge, so there's a certain social and class element to it. But these are both, both the Home Secretary, sort of Braverman and the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, they are their parents are immigrants, and there's big success stories, and yet the demonization of, like, for example, immigrants has never been, the rhetoric around it has never been so extreme and so inhumane. And it's incredible to think that it's coming from people whose parents, had to come here from Uganda, for example, or from India, and so it's pretty shocking. But it just shows the way in which that these kind of right-wing talking points and discourse has been able to seep into mainstream. Some of the things.
But it's human, though. It's human, David, because if you think about it, I made it. I'm not like them. I'm a special, magical Indian, special, magical Ugandan, Negro, African. I'm a special. I have elevated, because if the whiteness is the goal, I have now graduated into whiteness. I'm never going back, which means I too now will demonize those people, because that's how that happens. So if I have some melanin, I'm going to be even whiter than I'm going to be more harsh than any white person could be, because I have made it, and I have to show them that I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's that pulling of the, putting up the ladder after they've ascended, but for me as a historian of the British Empire and colonialism, our cornerstone immigration policy right now is to deport immigrants to Rwanda. That's the current plan that's been approved in Parliament recently. And the argument is that they're coming here illegally. Well, there is no such thing as an illegal immigrant. Everyone under the Human Rights Act has the ability to seek asylum in a country, and so these people aren't illegal. But what we've also done is prevented any safe routes for people for crossing into the UK. So we've taken away the safe routes. We've deemed them as illegal, and so we are trying to fly them out to Rwanda and resettle them in Rwanda, which has a terrible human rights record, and this is being challenged in the course. But it just shows you that where we're at is completely, mad. It's bonkers. But does reinforce those pre-existing systems that are legacies of empire that you could argue that have kind of come home to roost in our country after the collapse of the empire. And it's just, and things like Brexit, withdrawing from the European Union, the whole idea was to then immigration would stop. Well, we live in a global world. Borders are malleable. Unless you're going to try and build a big wall, then you're going to have people crossing between borders.
We had a president that tried to do that.
Exactly. And so for me, and our whole idea was that we're going to come out of the European Union and we're going to be a global country. But actually, what we're doing is we're putting up walls, and we're becoming more insular, and we're becoming very small-minded. And I think that in itself is a legacy of empire. That greater Britain, that kind of global power has collapsed, and we've turned in on ourselves, and we're rejecting everything that, if you can look at history and divide it into good and bad, which I don't think you can anyway. So some of the greater parts of British history has been that diversity, and the way in which a lot of our cities and places like the Midlands and the North have become so diverse and such a cultural melting pot. That's not to whitewash it. There's obviously tension, and we've got massive institutional racism in this country, but there are some success stories, and immigration is one of them. And to turn on that, it's, for me, I just don't understand it. One of the biggest economic creators in this country is education, and people come here to study at our universities, and it creates a massive amount of income. But we're currently preventing overseas students from bringing their families with them, and that will in itself discourage people from coming to study in our world famous universities. And that's based, I think, largely on race and xenophobia, and we're allowing that in the driving seat. That's driving our political and social discourse and policies, and it's just I guess it's just deserves in a way for this country to kind of collapse into obscurity.